Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ruler Ways 9 tourney here for the tier 10 on the North American server. It's your host Lupus X and I'm bringing you guys some more battles on the North American server. Yes, I like to repeat myself sometimes, but here we go back into some battles here. Now this time looks like we're at tier 10 on the map Cage. Now Cage typically serves three purposes in World of Warships Blitz. One is a center cap map, one is epicenter, and the third one is domination. So it's a very multi-tool map and each of those different modes require a different sort of strategy. This time we're looking at domination. And looks like they may be doing a very typical rollout here where one team will capture A, one team will capture C, and it basically will come down to a positioning and slash spotting discretionary things that will determine who basically gets B caps. You can see they're starting to take it early here. And it's not a bad idea at all. Basically, you have one destroyer basically come in, slide their way through, and link back up with the C cap. That way it can come back to the opponents in case it gets focused. This gives the battleship some time to get in position and see who else is shooting, because the second everybody starts shooting, that's exactly when everybody's detection goes off, and so it's a lot easier to aim at certain ships. And keep in mind, it is tier 10 and a lot of different slow ships here, so 20 seconds can be a lifetime of wait. So they got a Hindenburg off to the right there, and look, it's a very interesting choice there. You don't really see a lot of Hindenburgs used. Now, keep in mind, it's still got 12 203mm cannons, so I mean, it can be used, but it's not a typical boat you'd see, because with only 32 knots for its top speed, it can be a slower boat. I mean, it's good for brawling, but it's tend to be a slower boat. They're also running a Vermont as well, so they got a little bit of a slight tortoise movement is what it would have to seem like. And the Venezuela does its best job to use its fuel smoke to keep the Vermont from taking hits. It looks like it's already a little too late now, because it looks like most of the shots are ringing out that direction. Keep in mind, most of these guys are great players, so smoke is not going to deter them very much here. It may kind of disrupt auto lock, but yeah, you can see them flooding right there. A few more torpedoes, skirts past. Darings seem to be pretty much used, so I'm starting to see a lot of Darings, a lot of Z-52s in these games. And you can see the Daring here is now starting to position itself to B cap to decap it. We got the Smolensk here in smoke. I'm pretty sure he has, oh my goodness, he's got a whole set of torps to dodge out. Luckily, the Smolensk is a light cruiser, so he's got the maneuverability to do it. He takes maybe one or two, not too many there, not enough to cause a flood. And you got a Moskva here. Now, the Moskvas are very interesting boats. 220mm cannons. These things have the range of a pseudo battleship, so it's almost like having a fourth battleship on the team. But looks like they're focusing it out heavy. A bow tank, even the Russian ship bow tanking, can take but so much damage and punishment, pretty much. And it looks like they're pretty much exchanging blows here. The red team seems to be doing their best to try and hide in the smoke, but it looks like the Warchester has taken a lot of damage. I'm not sure if he'll get out of this one, because he's right against the rock and he has to make a turn. So I'm pretty sure someone is already planning for him to make that turn there. You see a couple of shells ringing out, so I don't know if he might make it out. He might not. He doesn't. So that's focus fire for you. He's gone completely from the match. That's the 2 ships down so far. It looks like they're about to lose the Venezuela very soon here. Yep, Hindenburg from the back. Little scoop from the back, Hindenburg from the back. There it is. So they're losing a lot of ships. They're 4 down, and now they still have the cap advantage, luckily enough, but they're losing a lot of ships, and so it's going to be very tough to come back, other than the fact that they can just hold the cap zones. But even then, they're still going to need to kill some ships in order to make this an even-Steven game. And with the Hindenburg being exactly where it is, it might cause even further issues, because it looks like they're not going to be able to even mitigate the damage it's giving out. The Hindenburg is basically just trespassing now, just not being stopped, because now it's not as much of a pincer, but it is a pincer in a way, because now the Hindenburg now serves a way to prevent them from even coming back. And you can see these guys are still focus firing them down. I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for error for the red team here, and it looks like the green team is not going to allow them any room for error either. Couple torps ringing out there in a Daring coming up. Now, the good thing about having a destroyer right there is the destroyer now has a little mountain to perch on, and he also spot torpedoes coming from the other ships as well, which gives the ships a little bit of an advance notice. So it's good to have for the teamwork purposes. That Yamato is taking a heck of a lot of damage, and it might go down here considering the focus fire. That smoke it does a job to a certain extent, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be enough to basically keep the shots off of that, basically. So we're going to see how it goes there, and yep, it's gone. Yamato is gone. It's gone completely. So I mean, it's wonderful to look at these things and see them happen. I mean, this is a good match here. You can see that they're You know, I seriously thought that she might drop on the Yamato. I thought I was expecting to see like one of them go down to half health. And I was kind of a little disappointing, but that's okay though. And we got a couple shots ringing out here from the torpedo, so we'll see what happens here. It might be a flooding. Not really. You can see they're trying to finish this off. 42 seconds to go left in this match. And looks like the Yamatos. I like this double Yamato setup here. This is a really interesting setup. It's pinning everything. Oh yeah, don't mind my crypto portfolio, and you know. So they ran a really interesting. I like the Puerto Rico. I mean that's something different there. A lot of ships have been introduced into Tier 10 since Tier 10 was a thing for competitive, and so it's really interesting to see the different compositions. Granted, this does kind of bring up the question of like pay to win a little bit, because it's like, you know, there's certain ships you can't get except unless you get them through crates. But keep in mind, not everything is like OP. So there we go. Great match right there. I think that's the Team Rage Quit. I believe the F&D made team there. You can see the score results there. Moving on to the next match, you got the good old back again on domination. I think this time we're on neighbors. This is a really interesting map. Older map. I mean, this map has been around for a good while, so most teams know the meta for this. Now, this is the first Tier 10 matchup we've ran in a while, but most teams know the general meta for what runs for this map, and it's pretty similar for all domination maps. I mean, there are going to be a few differences here and there depending on ship composition, but nothing really directs me to think that it's going to be any different other than one team goes for A, one team goes for C, and they basically fight over for B. I mean, I don't think I can see anything that warrants me the idea that it's going to be anything different. It seems like that's going to be a general strategy rule that is unspoken, but most of these teams know about. Most of these guys are like, you know, top percentage of the North American server. So you're going to see some guys that, you know, they're going to make some pretty interesting plays here. And keep in mind, you know, a lot of these guys know that you got to rely on your team to a certain extent. So you're not going to see very off-the-wall plays. Yep, looks like they already picked out a target. So it looks like one battleship is a little bit further than ahead of them. And the thing about this here is it makes him very distinguishable, one, from the camo, and then two, how far he is, because no one can actually sub out with him. Most of the other ships next to him are probably not going to allow him the ability to get out of there. Now, keep in mind, the Z-52 is spotting. He's taking a lot of damage there. And, I mean, other than that, I think he's just taking a lot of shots. I'm not sure if you can really say he's taking a lot of damage, because you're looking at his health bar, and it doesn't look like he's really taking a whole lot. I mean, let's look at the top edge view, but there's still, that Yamato is taking a lot of damage. I mean, it's the one thing they want to do, and this is the big thing for a lot of these big teams, is get rid of the battleships early. The battleships and destroyers are very important to a team strategy, because the battleships tend to hold the ground, the destroyers tend to take the ground. So if you can get rid of one of those two interesting factors early, you can pretty much win. You can win a match off of that just alone, typically. So it behooves these teams to basically take care of one of these two ship classes early. The cruisers can serve different purposes. As you know, a lot of cruisers are multi-purpose. They're Swiss Army knives, and there's a couple that are good for just anti-aircraft operations. Now, considering we don't have CVs in this tier, or this tourney, I should say, it's not really much of a factor. Right now, it's becoming more of the factor of destroyers spotting. And that's where you can see the reason why they're trying to pummel that C-52. They got a couple of single-fire torps here. I'm going to try to follow them out and see what's going on. Just trying to get different angles here, because I know a lot of folks like to ask about the lag and latency of certain torpedoes from certain people. So I tend to try and follow them for that reason. So it's like you can see that what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing. You know, you know, we've had a couple of instances of that in the past, but none to really bring up. We'll move past that. Looks like we got a very interesting thing. So they've already kind of pushed them outside of B. And now the only thing with what's going on right here at C cap, with them all being at C, is two things that happen right here. They either A, have to really focus fire, or B, the green team makes the mistake of getting too overconfident, pushing more ships than what they have the ability to. And then the USN team can basically Toxic team can basically knock them out one by one. It doesn't look like that's going to be the perspective here at all, really. It seems like they're going to try and make an en masse push just generally and gradually make their way across. Because you can see, looking at the mini-map right now, they have a very interesting staggered setup where basically they have ships in different positions at different angles. So even if someone basically turns the angle for one ship, now you're broadside against another ship. And then this is a pretty interesting tactic. And it's almost like basically casting a net. It's like, you know, at some point, something's going to catch you. You may not, you know, you may not be caught by the fishhook necessarily, but at some point with the net perspective, you're going to get caught by something here. Oh, we got a lot of shots ringing in here. I think these ships might be going down. This might be the end, honestly. We got a couple ships. Most of them are below health. They got one ship that's got a little bit of health to it, but they are focus firing. They're not relenting on this push here. And this is the exact way you want to kind of make a push. You want to make sure that it's all done at once. That way, there's no way to focus fire out one of your ships and you lose them one by one. So I'm going to try to do an overhead view because now we only got 2 ships. It's not, it's basically getting to the point of no return here. As you can see now, all the ships are starting to barrel down on these positions here. They're starting to already decap C. So you can see that they've already pushed them out of C cap. And they're making this daring basically do maneuvers to try and get this thing. Now, the daring has an interesting job. It's either run the clock down or see if he can make something happen here, and it doesn't seem like it's not going to be very much. He just lost his last bit of support there. It's him versus the entirety of the team. They did manage to take one ship out, so it's not a complete, overwhelming victory. But it's one ship gone, and now the daring has to do. Let's see if the daring tries to pull something off here. You know, now that you don't have a team and you see what the score is, I mean, you can pull something off maybe. I mean, we'll see what happens here. I want to see here because it looks like they're going to be in position to spot him soon. Yep, they're basically putting shots into him. The Z-52 is not letting him go at all. This is why these ships are very important here. With the no CVs in the match, these ships are spotting and are taking care of destroyers like the Daring. So you'll see these ships pretty often in these series. Daring, Z-52, you might see another couple of cruisers, destroyers here and there. But typically, these are the ones you're going to see on a habitual basis between the teams. And that ends that match there from Toxic versus Tiltum. Very good match there. Very good match. GG's all around to them there. You'll see the score result there. And then we'll move on to the next match, which is going to be this one here. Looks like we got the Lost team versus, I forgot to see who exactly they were facing. I should have made this thing longer so you could see the actual ships they were putting. But it doesn't matter. You'll have 7 minutes to kind of look at them. This time, we're back on Cage at Domination. So this was not the match I thought it was. I thought this was the epicenter match I took a hold of. But okay, we got another one. So you'll see it in the next series. I think I might do this in like 2 parts rather than trying to do all of them in one fell swoop. Just do a 2-part thing for the round robin part of the tourney from Friday. But yeah, it seems like the Z-52s are back. Not surprising there. You got a... Whoa. Grozavoy. The Grozavoy is here. You know, so that's one. Moskva's here as well. The Republic. Z-52. So, yeah, I mean, you got a pretty interesting setup here. I wasn't expecting to see the Grozavoy. I mean, that threw me off guard a little bit. It has a purpose, don't get me wrong. But it's just like I wasn't expecting it. Like I said, I was expecting the Z-52s and Darings most of the time. But let's see how the Grozavoy plays, because I guarantee a good player and a good strategy, you can make anything happen with any type of boat, typically. Oh, yeah. So it looks like the Z-52 is taking a lot of damage here in the middle cap here. So, like I said, this is going to be basically a sluggy match between the destroyers for the B cap. And it looks like they're already making gains on the Z-52. So, you know, the good thing with these Z-52s is they can basically brawl each other out. You don't really have to worry about sitting in cruisers to take care of this. A good Z-52 destroyer player can take care of most of the destroyers, if not sometimes cruisers, if they're not careful. The Z-52s come with a pretty interesting pack of punch on the APs. Keep in mind, these are German ships, so the AP tends to be pretty strong on these things. Granted, they're not going to Citadel very much unless it's like a Smolensk or maybe let's think a Minnow or something of that nature, but you're not going to really see a lot of Citadels from Z-52s. Now, this is the interesting part here, because like I said, this is where a lot of cruiser play comes into handy. You can see the positioning of the Smolensk down there, and the great thing about the Smolensk is not only does it have the maneuverability to do that, it also has the speed to do that. It has the gun power to do that. Like, the 152s are very accurate, so it can still put guns on target, even heavily maneuvering under heavy fire. A lot of Smolensk players learn how to really play their shipping competitive, especially after when there was such a big big overwhelming amount of them on the NA server that a lot of the players learned how to face them and learned how to really maneuver in them. So the kiting skills have really, you'll really see them, a lot of really good destroyer players. That Yamato is taking a lot of damage. That he's gone. Yo, he is gone. The Grozavoy took it out. So it looks like we've lost a ship apiece, but 2 ships are gone from the green side. Lost is still putting up a very decent fight here. And I don't blame them for doing so, because this is the map you really can do it on. The Buffalo seems to be holding its own right there. The Grozavoy is coming in. It looks like he's taking shots from off the corner there. This is exactly what you don't want to have happen, is have yourself cornered and pinchered in by ships from your corner here, because you can see he's trying to focus off the ships off to the far center here, and he's got to now worry about not only the ship in front of him, but now the ships to the side. And so this can sometimes cause a lot of issues. So you could see here, oh, wow. So you could see the Buffalo is basically keeping the Moskva out of there. Looks like they got rid of a Republic. Interesting, interesting. So this is really getting interesting here. They've both lost 2 ships a piece. But, you know, we continue. We continue going here. It looks like they're going to maybe knock down the Montana next. So it might be, the team might be losing another one here. I'm very interested to see the Stalingrad. It's the only ship from a crate I really want is the Stalingrad, because, I mean, it reminds me so much of the Moskva, but just has better guns, you know, better penetrating guns. And it makes sense why the teams want to run it, because it just gives that perspective of a third battleship. Keep in mind, the rules for the tourney are only 2 BBs per team. So running the Stalingrad or running the Moskva kind of gives them that third sort of pseudo BB that can kind of kill cruisers and can kill other ships, and sometimes even take out destroyers because of the accurate guns. The guns are not best for killing destroyers because they take a long time to rotate, but keep in mind, a really well-placed shot from a Russian ship can really knock out anything it wants to, because of just how accurate the guns tend to be. They can still see that this match is starting to you know, come down a little bit. Now, it looks like they're trying to take all the caps, and I don't blame them for doing so. I mean, you might as well control what you can control. That's the best thing you can do as a competitive team, is control what you can control. Right now, they have 1 destroyer left. They can control the caps. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to see if they can try to cause some disorganization on the lost team and see if maybe they can make something happen. I mean, it's 2-4. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's a harder fit with a destroyer with the current composition. There's a cruiser and destroyer. It's a little harder to make that work versus saying a battleship and a cruiser or something like that, or a different composition. It's just going to be a little tough to maneuver certain things in that regard there. Now, you can see they're just trying to focus out this ship here, and I do not blame them from doing so, because the second they do, that means they can come back and retake this cap here and then get that back from the team. But you can see now they're starting to decap them out back. So it's, you know, it's the wonderful thing about these types of competitive events. You can really see the need and the urgency to take advantage of every single opportunity you get. He might go down here. Buffalo is taken out with the Z-52. Like I said, the Z-52 cannons are pretty darn good. They're accurate to an extent there. But it looks like Lost is going to take this one. It's a pretty close match. I mean, 633 to 615. Can't complain there. Good match all around. GG's to those guys. Don't mind the defeat screen. I'm not actually playing. I'm observing. So I don't know why it even tells me it's a defeat. Oh, that ends that round, guys. Hope you guys have a good one.